Hi everyone.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to our February meeting of Legal Aid. Happy Valentine's Day. And thanks for coming. So we are going to talk today about the court-based resources for self-represented litigants. What is available to us and the various patchwork of resources that we have available to clients that maybe we don't have the capacity to take or who haven't found us yet. So we are pleased to welcome Ray Carizzi from the Center for Conflict Resolution, who's going to talk to us about mediation services. We have Melissa Petrola from LAF, Melissa Wemstrom from Carpool, and Courtney Redmond from the Illinois Justice Corps. Each of our panelists is going to give a presentation about their help desks and what they do and what they don't do and how to find them and what the process looks like. And feel free to ask any questions. We'll have sort of an ongoing Q&A. And we'll also hear from them about what it looks like for a pro se litigant. How do they get to their help desk? What's the timeline and what that looks like? Please feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and please sign in if you haven't already for steadily credit. Thanks.
Is this on? Everyone hear me? Okay, great. I'm going to kick us off. I'm Courtney Redmond from the Chicago Bar Foundation. I coordinate the Illinois Justice Corps program for Cook and Lake counties. Illinois Justice Corps is not an advice desk per se, but rather we provide assistance to self-represented litigants in courthouses throughout the state of Illinois. It's actually an AmeriCorps program, so those of you familiar with AmeriCorps will know what logistics come along with that. But essentially, we recruit recent graduates to work full-time in courthouses as well as part-time undergraduate students. And those students will often get internship credit for the time they serve as well. And then at the end of a successful term of service, usually about a year long, those individuals are awarded an education award to use for tuition or loan repayment. So what do they actually do, though, then, if they're not running an advice desk per se? So what they do is provide a lot of navigational assistance in the building. So I'm sure any of you who have been to the Daley Center, perhaps you've seen us in Markham at the information desk, or even if you've stopped by 26th Street, those are our Cook County locations. You might see a Justice Corps member wearing a blue uniform with an AmeriCorps logo on it, and that person is there to help give you directions throughout the building. I'm sure those of you who have worked in courthouses before or worked with pro se litigants know it's not the most friendly place to be usually, and if it's your first time there, it's super scary to walk in. So we try to be the friendly faces who are there to help you get where you need to be. Sometimes that's just literally pointing you to where the bathroom is. Other times it's answering a question with some legal information so that you know which clerk's office or what sort of document you need to ask for so you can get steps of your case done that day. At the Daley Center especially, as well as in Markham, we also provide an immense amount of support to legal aid organizations that have advice desks. So at the Daley Center, for instance, our home base is CL16, the Resource Center for People Without Lawyers. That's that lovely space that's next to the Starbucks in the basement. I think that's how everyone knows it. Go to the Starbucks, look for the volunteers. So we post up there every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And what we do is we do initial triage for the advice desks that are housed in that space, or sometimes we're deflecting people to the appropriate advice desk that's located throughout the building. If you pull up, for those of you who grabbed this on the way in, this blue resource sheet, this is something that the Pro Se Advisory Committee put together during the past year. It previously existed in a different iteration, and this past year the committee worked on making it more user-friendly and adding icons and things like that, so a typical SRL would have an easier time navigating this resource. It's a really valuable resource for you to have at hand, just because it lists all of the advice desks that are available in the Daley Center as well as around the loop. And so it has their hours, location, things like that. And so this is really what Justice Corps uses, we sort of call like our Bible, because it has all the information we might need to make a referral. So if an individual comes to CL16, if they're there for a desk that's housed there, great, we'll do the initial triage, get them checked in and connected to an attorney. If not, we will send them on their way to the appropriate resource. Something else the Justice Corps members do is assist with some simple forms completion. So for statewide standardized forms, they can help with people who need help with fee waiver applications, as well as name change petitions and other things like that. An additional service they provide is after someone has met with an attorney in CL16, let's say someone comes in to get a divorce, and an attorney helps them fill out all the paperwork they need and gives them a lovely instruction packet, and then sends them on their way. It's sometimes hard for that person to still get to the finish line, right? So a Justice Corps volunteer will accompany that person, especially if English isn't their first language. We find it super helpful to have an interpreter go with them. So the Justice Corps volunteers will do that as well. So it's really valuable for the litigant as well as for the volunteers because they get an insider's view of what it's like to file a case here in Cook County. In addition to this resource sheet, I want to mention this is the most current iteration, but you should always look at the Chicago Bar Foundation's website if you want to make sure it is the most up-to-date. We do update it all the time. Desk hours and locations do change. So if you want to make sure you have the most recent information, please do look at the website. And if you want printed copies, we actually print these in tear-off pads. So just come up to me after this meeting. I'm happy to give you a tear-off pad. We have lots of them right now. We just got them reprinted. In addition, the Pro Se Advisory Committee is also working on division-specific resource sheets. So for instance, the county division has lots of really particular areas of the law that don't necessarily have an advice desk capability. So those referral sheets are in the works right now. The county division is currently up on our website, and we're working on other division-specific referral sheets too. So check in on occasion to see which ones are done and see which ones might be helpful to you and your organization as well. I think that's the gist of Justice Corps. So like I said, not necessarily an advice desk, but sort of the intermediary for the public to get to where they need to be in courthouses throughout Cook and the rest of the state. I think I'll pass it off unless anyone has questions about that for now.
Does anyone have questions about Justice Corps? Courtney, is there typically a wait to speak to a Justice Corps volunteer?
Not really. There might be a short line that you have to join to speak to someone, but typically we have about 5 volunteers at all times, so they will quickly get through the folks who need questions, so their navigational legal information questions.
Okay, great, thanks. And you mentioned interpreters. Do the Justice Corps volunteers themselves speak other languages, or you use the court interpreters?
No, so for filing things, you won't get a court interpreter, right? Because it's not actually in the courtroom business that you need taken care of. So I do have, I think, half of my volunteers this semester speak a foreign language, most of them Spanish, which is a huge need, as you all know. So it's really valuable for them to assist individuals who don't necessarily speak English as their first language in doing something like filing a case or filing into a case or something like that.
Okay, great, thank you. And is that listed on this tear-off sheet or no?
Justice Corps is, our logo is down here in the bottom right corner. We figured just because we don't necessarily have the same sort of mechanisms that an advice desk does, that we don't need to list, go here to check in. We sort of float around the building. We are CL16 as our home base, but you might find us up on the first floor. I'm often stopped by people just walking through the hallways who have questions. So the key is to look for their uniforms. They have a polo, a zip-up, and an Oxford that has that AmeriCorps Justice Corps logo on it. So that is a clear indicator that that is a trained volunteer who's there to help SRLs in the courthouse.
Okay, great. And last question, I'm sorry if I missed this, but are they there all hours when the court is open?
Yes, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Real quick, how many volunteers are at the 3 courthouses?
It's a great question. So at the Daley Center, we have 3 full-time volunteers, and Markham and 26th Street each have 1 full-time volunteer. And then there's about 15 part-time volunteers among those 3 courthouses, although the majority of them are based at the Daley Center.
And if we knew someone who was maybe interested in becoming a volunteer, where would we send them?
Please send them to me. I'm always recruiting. We're actually about to start recruiting for our full-time team for next year. So if you know of anyone who's graduating, who is interested in something like this, please let me know. I'm happy to talk to them and connect them to the application when it becomes available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm Melissa Wemstrom. I am an attorney with Carpel's Legal Aid, and I'm going to be talking about our 4 different court-based advice desks. And just to back up just a couple words about carpals. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary, and our sort of our main initiative is our legal aid hotline for low and moderate income individuals in Cook County. And our focus is helping people navigate all of these legal aid resources to get connected to the help that they need. And then the realization that there just aren't enough legal aid attorneys to go around. There aren't enough resources to go around. And so many of the people that we speak to are not going to be able to have a legal aid attorney represent them, which means they're going to be dealing with their legal aid problem as a pro se. And so we're going to be giving them as much advice and consultation over the phone. That means giving them a consultation about their legal rights, their options, perhaps drafting a demand letter or other documents that might be appropriate to mail out to them or via email. And we use that same philosophy at our help desks, and that's a bit more focused on court documents, review of documents, helping prepare motions and pleadings. And so generally it works out to be about 15% of the people that we see. We can say, okay, you've got a case that is going to be a good fit for one of our legal aid agencies here in Chicago. Let's get you connected to them so that they can help represent you. And then I might follow up with them a little bit later to say, okay, is LAF going to help you in this case? If not, let's see if there's another appropriate referral, or maybe we're going to switch into pro se gear and we're going to help you proceed without an attorney. And then 85% of those cases, we're going to help people resolve their legal problems on their own without an attorney, with as much advice as guidance. Sometimes that means one consultation and they're off and running. Sometimes that means people are going to come back to us, send this letter, do X, Y, Z, and then come back. We serve 55,000 a year on the hotline and our court-based advice desks. Our income limits are up to 350% of the federal poverty line, and so that's the sort of the idea that up to 350 being generous enough to include some of those moderate income folks who are realistically not going to be able to afford an attorney, but who also might not be eligible for legal aid representation, and we can kind of help fill that gap of people who are slipping in through there. So to talk about our 4 desks, I'm going to start talking first about the Municipal Court Advice Desk, because that's the desk I supervise. And we are located in CL16, and Courtney's team provides invaluable help to her. So a big applause for all the hard work that they do in terms of helping court patrons at the Daley Center. And so we provide at the Municipal Court Advice Desk, which is listed second on here where it says resources for free legal help. It's the Municipal Court Advice Desk. It's that second listing there on the left-hand side. So we are based inside CL16, which is the resource center for people without lawyers, in the basement of the Daley Center. And we provide assistance to plaintiffs and defendants in municipal division cases. So generally, those are going to be cases that are under $30,000, evictions, car accidents, deficiencies, debt collection cases. We're first come, first serve, and it starts at 8:30 in the morning, and we have Justice Corps who help us with the flow of people and the intake of clients. We typically, at times, will have a waiting list, and Justice Corps members have developed a great system of taking folks' cell phone numbers so that people can step away, go to McDonald's, go to Starbucks, go get their birth certificate, whatever else they need to do, and then a Justice Corps member will text them when it's time for them to come back to CL16. We don't have any income limits at the Municipal Court Advice Desk, so we do give advice to folks who are going to be over that 350%. With those folks, we have a one and you're done approach, which is we're going to sit down, we're going to give you a consultation, we're going to help you that day, but they're not going to be returning to us for service. It's not going to be a legal aid referral. We're going to direct them to the private bar or some other resources as appropriate for any future advice that they need. In terms of the kinds of cases that we see, almost half of the people who come to see us are for eviction and housing-related problems. The majority of those are being sued in eviction case. So, for instance, a typical situation might be somebody who has got their eviction summons and is directed to CL16 for help, and we'll sit down and give them advice and help evaluate what are your legal options. Is this going to be, you've got a meritorious defense, or perhaps it's a subsidized housing case and we can link you up with representation? If so, great, we're going to do that. That's the small minority of cases. The vast majority of folks are going to be proceeding pro se as defendants in eviction court, and so we're going to help them figure out, okay, let's get you a continuance. This is how you're going to get a continuance. Does it make sense to negotiate with your landlord to pay rent and stay, or perhaps an agreement to dismiss the case and perhaps push to get the case sealed? And then perhaps none of that works, so the client comes back later with an eviction order, and so we're going to help them draft a motion to extend the stay. One of the things that we do at the help desk is we do draft a number of motions. We use a Salesforce. I know almost everybody does legal server. We use Salesforce, and we have over, I don't know, it's about 25 or so almost sort of template motions that we customize for clients so that we can keep up with drafting motions at a highly, fairly high volume, and do it as efficiently as possible. Other comments? Questions about that desk, perhaps, before I move on to the other desks, or should I wait to the end? Yes?
I have just a logistical question. Do you tend to fill up by a certain time?
That's a great question. It is unpredictable for the municipal court advice desk. Sometimes we have a bunch of people right at 8:30. Sometimes there's nobody at 8:30. It does tend to get a little bit busier around 11 o'clock because sometimes people have already been to court and are coming after court. We're open at 8:30, but it's not a good idea to tell somebody to come at 8:30 if they have a 9 o'clock court call. Sometimes people end up there and it's like, well, just get yourself to court, ask for a continuance, and then come back after court. Because we're not going to be able to sit down and have a real consultation with you and get you to court on time. Other questions?
And can we refer clients to that desk at any point in their case?
At any point in their case, yeah. Obviously, the sooner we see somebody in their case, it's going to be more beneficial for them, but at any point in their case, we give advice, and if it's appropriate, we'll help them with drafting pleadings. Okay. So the other desk that we share space, yes? Okay, so we have a Spanish-speaking attorney Monday through Friday every morning. Okay, so our desk is open all day. We have a Spanish-speaking attorney, which is me, every morning. And we also then have the language line, which all of the help desks have in CL 16, which is, I don't know, it's about 300 languages. So we do have the capacity for that. And then we sometimes will arrange for interpreters, etc. as well. Other questions? Okay. So the other desk that Carpels has in that space, and we call them help desks, but they're actually not help. It's not a help desk. In CL 16, if you haven't been there, it's actually a professional office space with cubicles. There's waiting rooms for the clients. We have a paralegal who checks folks in. They wait in the waiting room, and then in the cubicles, they'll have the consultation with the attorney. But we call them it's a help desk. So the domestic relations help desk is listed first in this guide, Resources for Free Legal Help. The domestic relations advice desk is just in the mornings, Monday through Friday. And that's also in our same space in CL 16. And the domestic relations help desk is to help people with family law matters, with a real focus on cases that are pending in the domestic relations division, and on helping folks with simple, uncontested matters. For instance, a very common client to the domestic relations advice desk is seeking a divorce, which they're going to be able to get a divorce either by agreement, because there's no property, there's no complicated issues, both parties are going to be in agreement on everything, or by default. And when we say these are simple, it's simple from the legal standpoint, but for the clients themselves, it's not a simple process, figuring out the parenting class, figuring out the joint parenting agreement, figuring out the various steps. So we work with people in those situations to draft the petitions, to draft the orders, to help them, sending them on their way with that packet of instructions and information. And often, if the client is going to need that additional assistance of a Justice Corps member accompanying them throughout the courthouse to make sure that they're able to follow through with the instructions. Also at the domestic relations desk, we're going to provide consultations to regarding any family law matters. So it's a lot of consultations about parenting time, which used to be called visitation, or allocation of parental responsibility. Also post-decree enforcement issues. I've got the divorce. Here it says I'm supposed to be paid X amount of maintenance, and I haven't been paid for the past 4 months. And so many times in those situations, we can draft a rule to show cause and assist the client in those matters. And there is a 350 federal poverty line income guideline for the domestic relations desk. And I would say it's a very high demand desk, and it does tend to have a wait list almost every single morning by, I would say 10-ish, sometimes even sooner. So typically, if I am going to refer somebody to the domestic relations desk, I stress that they should get there at 8:30. They should get there early and get in line. It's first come, first serve, and the spots do fill up pretty quickly. And there's Spanish-speaking attorneys Monday through Thursday, so just not on Friday mornings. Questions about the domestic relations advice desk?
I have one.
Yeah.
If we refer somebody to Carpals, to the hotline, and they have a domestic relations issue, are they going to get referred to this particular help desk, or should we refer them straight to the domestic relations help desk?
That's a good question. I think the first referral is usually just going to be to the hotline, because sometimes it's going to be something that we're going to be able to address over the phone with a legal consultation over the phone. And sometimes what we will do in these cases is we're going to be able to give quite a bit of advice, but you know what? I need to see that last court order. Can you scan it, or can you fax it and send it to us, and we'll look at it, and we can do a lot over the phone. And then if we determine, hey, guess what? It looks like you are appropriate for us to draft something for you. We're going to be preparing a divorce petition, or we're going to do a petition for allocation of parental responsibility, or we're going to be drafting something. Then we would direct them to the domestic relations advice desk. But if it's something that we could help them with over the phone, it's going to be more convenient for them. So that would be the approach. Other questions?
Are the Justice Corps volunteers available to help these pro se litigants file any type of thing? So that you're mentioning these templates that you're going to file, like for an eviction and extension of time. Does someone go with them, or is someone available to go with them to file any of these things, or is it only in certain matters?
Yeah, so I think the Justice Corps members are available for everybody. There's only a certain number of them, so they're not going with everybody. So typically, as the attorney, I'm going to evaluate this is an elderly person, this is a person with limited language, this is a person with perhaps some cognitive difficulties, or for whatever reason needs a bit of additional assistance. But I think the numbers, it's 5,200 people a year at the domestic relations desk. It's like 7,500 people a year at the municipal court advice desk. So it's so many people, and we're just not going to be able to have a volunteer to accompany everyone. So we try and identify where there is going to be that additional need.
Okay, and who is staffing the domestic relations?
So it's a Carpals attorneys. So at the domestic relations desk, Susan Craven is the supervising attorney, and in addition to her, there's going to be usually 2 staff attorneys every day. At the municipal court advice desk, I'm there as the supervisor, and then there's an additional 2 attorneys there in the morning, and then in the afternoon we go down to just 2 attorneys. And we have volunteers and students as well. Today we have an attorney who's been a volunteer with us for 8 years now. So we do love it if we can get some volunteer attorneys as well. Other questions? So the third desk that we have at The Daley Center is the Carpels collection desk. And again, it's not a desk. It's really more of a standing in the hallway and giving advice to folks outside of 1401 or on the sidebar there. And so in 1401 is the post-judgment collection matters. So these are folks who are appearing in court to have their wages garnished, banks accounts frozen, or they're appearing for a personal citation to discover assets. These are debtors who have judgments against them. And so we're on hand in the mornings, Monday through Friday, to provide advice. And usually it is standing up in the hallway outside courtroom or off to the side right before the client is going to appear in court. So a typical situation is somebody whose bank account is frozen because of a judgment against them, and we're going to give them advice about claiming a wild card exemption or Social Security or other exemption, and assist them getting a court order to have that bank account unfrozen and the funds returned to them. Or folks who are in court on a wage garnishment citation, helping them understand that process, helping them request that the garnishment amount be reduced due to hardship, or perhaps ask for a continuance because they're going to want to contest the underlying judgment. So the collection desk is sort of on our feet trying to help people understand that process. Those proceedings are pretty quick, and a lot of times what ends up happening is sometimes we're going to assist somebody upstairs on the 14th floor, and that person is then going to come downstairs to the basement at the municipal court advice desk, and we're going to help them with a motion to quash or some other motion to challenge the underlying judgment as well. So that's sometimes what ends up happening. And generally we don't refer people to the collection desk. Generally people are in 1401 already for that proceeding, but we just make them aware of the fact that there is always a Carpels attorney available there, which is announced, and so generally folks in 1401 are aware of the availability of that service. Generally at that desk we don't have the capacity to draft motions on the spot, but oral motions are generally going to be accepted in those proceedings. Sometimes the judge will ask one of the attorneys as a friend of the court to draft an order just for the court's convenience. Questions about the collection desk in 1401? Yes?
Do you use index cards to sort of cue people as to what to say to the judge?
Yes, that's a great question. So we do provide index cards and little cue cards to help people when they're stepping up in front of the judge. I'm asking for a continuance, or I want to exert my wild card exemption, etc. So we've developed sort of a whole library of appropriate cards, which are useful for people because a lot of times it's an overwhelming process. We're there to help them figure it out, and then you step in front of the judge or in front of the plaintiff's attorney, and you completely forgot what you were supposed to say or do. So we found that that's been very helpful for people.
Since this is not a desk per se, how would we tell clients to recognize you or to look for you in that court?
So generally, the clerk always, Chuck or any of the other clerks are always going to sort of point us out, and so there's a little name badge, Carpels, yeah. So generally, people are going to be able to find us.
Thank you. Any other questions about the collection desk?
And then our last court-based advice desk is not at the Daley Center. It is at the City of Chicago Department of Administrative Hearings, which is located at 400 West Superior. And at this help desk, we assist clients with any administrative matter that is pending at 400 West Superior. And so those are City of Chicago Municipal Code violations. And the majority, I would say, I think it's about 40% of our clients are seeking assistance with a vehicle impound or seizure. And so we're going to help them understand what their legal rights are, help them request a hearing, and give them advice on how to proceed in that hearing. We also have a fair number of clients who are there on tickets as well, either traffic, parking-related tickets at 400 West Superior, or homeowners with building code violations, and assisting folks with those cases. Really any municipal code case that is pending at 400 West Superior. We don't assist respondents that are businesses or if it's a business-related case. There's a number of cases at that facility that are related to business licensing or City of Chicago business or employment-related violations. We don't assist business entities. And in general, that's the policy throughout CARPLs, is that our focus is on giving advice to individuals, not to businesses. And at the administrative hearings desk, we don't have an income limit, so it's that similar, one and you're done. We're going to give you advice, help you figure today out, and then send you on your way. You're not going to be eligible for return services, and there's generally not going to be a legal aid referral for those individuals either. Questions about the, yes?
Where is that desk located, 400 West?
So it is on the first floor, and I think it's in room 104. So the clerks will point it out. It is in a little, it's almost a closet with just a door and one desk, and it's one attorney. And it is every day but Tuesdays, all day. And there's a sign outside, and everybody that works there will point it out. If you just ask for legal help or legal aid, they're going to point you to that little room. And then typically what the attorney will do is they'll put a little sign if they need to go to the bathroom, or a little sign if they're meeting with clients, etc. And again, it's first come, first serve. We don't have anybody to help with intake, so people just kind of line up outside in the hallway, and the attorney just kind of navigates, who needs what when. First come, first serve.
The referral sheet says room 121.
121. Yes. Thank you.
So just a reminder that
Good.
great kind of tear-off sheets. You don't have them available at your office. These are super helpful, and I'm told that this is extremely updated and current in terms of hours and location. So make sure that you have this available at your offices. It's super helpful. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
So my name is Melissa Pachola, and I'm the Director of Volunteer Services at LAF, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a few different subject matter areas that we run help desks in. So we talked a little bit about evictions, but there's even more help for evictions. So really, no one should ever, I don't know. Moving on. So we operate two sort of traditional help desks one in Markham and one in Skokie to help people who are facing eviction with advice. In the Markham desk, there is a possibility for a limited referral to LAF if you meet case guidelines, but the focus of those two desks, and you can find the hours on what we refer to internally as the magic sheet. We call that referral sheet the magic sheet. So on the magic sheet, you can see the times and dates of those desks, but again, the focus of those desks are going to be advice for people sort of when they're ready to talk to somebody. And then I want to talk a little bit about a newer program that we're running with our friends at Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, so thanks to LCBH. And we call it eBad, but we think it's eGood. It's the Eviction Brief Advice Desk, and this is really for folks who are in the Daley Center while they happen to be in court. So this is, if you don't have time to go downstairs to CARPLs before your court date, or you're seeking advice right before you're stepping up, right? And the idea of the desk, that is not actually a desk either, but what else are you supposed to call it, is that people can seek advice from an attorney. And right now we have volunteer attorneys working with us from DLA Piper, but stay tuned because that will expand. And what they can do is actually give somebody counsel the moment before they go speak to that landlord's attorney, or the moment before they step up in front of the judge. And one of the things that we've been focusing on at the desk is helping people actually fill out those orders. So what we found is that we would tell somebody after hearing about their case and feeling like they had a good defense and this was their first time up, okay, just go get a continuance. And then they would come back and say, I got an eviction order. And we're like, what's going on? So one of the things we started doing was actually drafting the continuance orders for the clients to be able to have it so that they can say to the judge, no, really, I want a continuance. I don't want to talk. I don't want to make a deal. I just want this continuance. The other thing that we have been doing on a limited basis, which has been exciting and I think relatively successful, is that the DLA Piper attorneys have actually been willing to go in and negotiate on someone's behalf. So we have been, under a sort of a very limited scope opportunity with the client's consent. We have been speaking to landlords' attorneys on behalf of that client and sort of saying, look, this person wants to stay, they have this much money, can we enter into a payment plan so that they can avoid an eviction today? And so, again, very limited basis, no actually stepping up, not filing an appearance, but just sort of helping that client with that negotiation piece to be able to make sure that they can actually not be evicted. Again, this has all been trial and error only because when we didn't actually negotiate on behalf of someone, they said, I followed your advice, I got an eviction order. And so what we're trying to do is sort of really catch people at the moment that they need the most advice, which I think is right before you step up in front of the judge. So that desk is operating on the first and third Thursday of the month, only during the morning court call on the 14th floor. And that one, of course, you can refer people if you happen to see somebody who has a summons for that court date, but really it's going to be a walk-in where somebody is interested because they're on the court floor that morning. So that's evictions, always fun. Let's talk about what happens after that, maybe some bankruptcies. We operate a bankruptcy help desk in the federal courthouse. And again, what we're advising people on in that capacity is when they're sort of saying, I think I need to file bankruptcy, or I'm ready to file bankruptcy, or I'm at this stage and what do I do next? The desk is staffed by volunteer attorneys, of course overseen by LAF staff and a Vista, because we love Vistas too. They can see an attorney. This is a first come, first serve desk. And there's about, we say it's about 11 clients that can be seen. First come, first serve, so you sort of wait until there's an attorney available. Again, one of the things we like about this desk is that many people come in thinking, I'm ready to file, and then they walk away saying, maybe I shouldn't file bankruptcy. So the idea is really to advise people not only on the process, but also on whether this is the right step for them at that time. If you're already in federal court, maybe you have a case pending, right? And you're proceeding on your own. So we operate what is clunkily known as the William J. Hibbler Memorial Pro Se Assistance Program. We just call it the Hibbler Help Desk or the Pro Se Help Desk. And this is, again, for people who have a case pending in federal court that they are unrepresented on. This is an appointment-based desk. And you can call the clerk's office to get directed to make an appointment, but there's also a link on the Illinois Northern District's court webpage to actually pick an appointment. And again, the way it works is that when we have volunteer availability, there'll be appointments available, and a client can sign up to have an appointment. The desk, again, not really a desk, the program serves Northern and Eastern and Western District cases. Of course, for those Eastern and Western, it'll be by video conference or by phone. Otherwise, the appointments are in person. What this desk focuses on is advising people on the process of a federal case. So it is not, let me draft this pleading for you, or here is the law of what you're trying to do, let me show you the facts you're going to need to prove. What it is, well, you're at the discovery phase. Let's talk about what kind of things, how you can file a discovery motion or a motion to compel, for example. So less so getting into the substantive law, really that's not the focus of the desk at all, but more so getting into how do I navigate a federal court process. One of the reasons an appointment-based process works for this desk is that federal court moves slower, right? So people have the time to make an appointment to see one of the attorneys and talk through their case. For the most part, we can handle somebody a repeat of 3 times, and then we sort of say, okay, we're not going to talk to you about this case any further, but they can get that substantive advice up to that much. And then sort of shifting a little bit, if you have a juvenile record, we also operate the Juvenile Expungement Help Desk in conjunction with the Cabrini Green Legal Aid. And this is a walk-in desk, but you can also call and get some information. The idea is that you can also get fingerprinted on site to help expedite expedite the process to actually get your record, to determine what's on your record. And then we can actually, LAF or CGLA will actually take your case if there's something on there for extended representation throughout the expungement. So this is for juvenile records. Of course, people of all ages with juvenile records can come to the juvenile expungement help desk and receive some assistance with getting that off their record, which is really helpful. Again, that's sort of a walk-in desk. You don't need an appointment to come in and see that. So, I can take questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions about the, yeah?
Melissa, is your eviction desk at Daley Center listed on this resource?
I don't think it is. It's too new and it's too narrow at this point. We, because we're
one updated.
Yeah. No, it's mainly because of the infrequency of the desk that we just felt like, we'll grab people when they're there. Maybe eventually we'd like to sort of publicize it further, but it's not there. It's the first and third Thursday. Yeah. E-bad wasn't E good enough. Sorry.
So getting back to eBay, can we reverse someone who doesn't have a court date on the first and third Thursday morning?
I would say that it'd be better to send somebody like that to Carpels, right, to CL16. What we're trying to do is help people who are in court at that moment. So the main service that we're providing is preparing that continuance or helping negotiate. If someone's not in court that day, we can't help them negotiate, right? The idea is that it's a brief service for that 2 hours or so.
Are those continuances routinely granted if it's their first court date? Or?
I'm looking at Julie. Yes. We have had much better success. I think the issue is sometimes what the client says. So when the client has the continuance order prepared, it has gone much better. The only issue would be sometimes that a client steps up and they're saying, well, I think I want, it's that Fourth Amendment thing. I think I might want a continuance to get a lawyer. And so sometimes the judge will say, well, wouldn't it be better for you to make a deal? So we've had that situation, and that's why we were sort of really helping people if they are wanting that continuance and we think it's appropriate based on the fact that they might get a referral, for example, to LAF or LCBH, that we prepare that order for them so that they can just hand it and be done.
Any other questions for Melissa?
Ray?
Thank you. So I'm Ray Carizzi with the Center for Conflict Resolution. We provide free mediation services to anyone who wants it in just about any kind of case, which sounds like an overstatement, but it isn't. The only thing we really don't do where you might think of using mediation is a full divorce. A divorce mediation typically takes multiple sessions over many weeks. We leave that to private practitioners. But we do work with parents and families, but almost all of our mediations are done in a single mediation session. We provide mediation services in sort of two distinct ways. So I want to start by highlighting the in-court services, because that's definitely the point of the panel today. So we mediate small claims and eviction cases in every Cook County courthouse at least one day a week. We are at the Daley Center every morning from 9 to noon. And then we are in Maywood and Skokie on Monday afternoons for their small claims calls. We're in Bridgeview on Tuesday and Wednesday for small claims and eviction. Markham on Tuesdays and Thursdays for small claims and eviction. And Rolling Meadows on Friday for small claims, in case any one of those is like your courthouse. Just wanted to list them all. In those programs, what we're doing is we provide the mediation services on site to unprepared, slightly reluctant parties, almost against their wishes. Because they don't know that they're coming for mediation. There's no prep. It's almost always what it is in these courtrooms is it's the case's first time up, and we are sitting in the courtroom. It's always a staff member, and then we bring certified volunteer mediators to mediate the cases along with the staff. So we're sitting in the courtroom waiting to see what's going to happen. And one of my favorite things is that what happens is most judges say, have the two of you had a chance to talk about this? And then whatever they say, the judge says, why don't you go with this lady and see what happens? So and for us, the thought is, even in cases that do not resolve, we settle about half of those cases that we get on site with those parties. We have them for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. The agreement rate goes up as the clock goes up. The more time we have with people, the more likely they are to resolve it. But we employ a model of mediation that's a facilitative model where we don't give them advice, we don't give them any opinion, and we don't make any suggestions about how they should resolve it. So we're really creating an opportunity for the parties to resolve it if that's what's in their best interest. And so even for parties that don't end up settling their case, they've still had an opportunity to be emotional, to vent, to tell their story, to be heard. And we ask a lot of questions to sort of help them think critically about what might happen. And often what we're able to do is really help them focus their case. You know, in a small claims case that's about a loan for money, we'll say, what brought you here today? And they're like, well, we met in 1996. And we're like, don't start like that for the judge. She doesn't care, you know? And so we're able to help them sometimes focus, like, what is it that you're here for today? You know, how are you going to prove that? How's it going to make sense? And even for parties that end up stepping in front of the judge, we really believe that for a defendant who feels like they're being dragged into court, for a plaintiff that feels like I had no choice but to sue her, they've had this opportunity to look at the situation one more time, decide if it's in their interest to resolve it or see a judge, and then in a small way, they're sort of making that choice to step up in front of the judge. So even in those cases, you can see the parties, they're more prepared, they're more eloquent, they're better able to express what's important to them to the judge. So in that way, too, even when it doesn't settle, we're still proud of the work we're able to do. We offer our services in English and Spanish. We have two full-time bilingual programs managers who speak English and Spanish, and then we have a cadre of Spanish-speaking volunteers. We don't always have them in court, though, so we do sometimes have to use interpreters. We don't require professional interpreters, though, so if someone has brought a friend or someone to assist them, that person can also support them through the mediation process. The case types that we're particularly focused on when we're doing those on-site in court are all small claims and eviction work, but we do offer mediation services in a number of different programs and a number of different case types. There is no income requirement to receive services at CCR, so we're able to serve folks that might not otherwise qualify for support at your agency, or, so it's a blessing. We don't have to do all that of the intake. And so literally today I was referred a chancery partition case that is 3 adult siblings, right, fighting over a house that their mother left them that they sold. And I had this amazing conversation with the lawyer who said, I really don't want to come. Please don't make me come to the mediation, right? Because he's and he's not going to. These adult siblings are going to sit down and have this day-long amazing fight. They're actually some of my favorite people to work with, because it turns out our conflict style tends to stick with us our whole lives, and so we will, so we're going to be able to. I mean, it's a chancery case. It's in court. It's a 3-year-old case, but they're going to have this chance to come in and see if maybe they can make it happen on their own. And if not, that's fine with us too. They just have a return date. They go back and see the judge. We work a lot. We end up referring a lot of juvenile cases to the expungement desk that Melissa mentioned. We have a juvenile victim offender and a juvenile family mediation program. We've actually had the victim offender program for over 25 years in Cook County. It's a restorative justice program where juvenile offenders and their parents meet with their victims to talk about the incident and the impact that it's had and work to resolve it. We do that in the branch court as well with adult offenders. And we also do that with juveniles and their family. I'm highlighting that different work. Also, we work with parents. So like I said, we don't do a full divorce. And if there's a domestic relations case pending that's being referred for mediation for parenting time schedules, that goes to Family Mediation Services, which are the court mediators at 69 West. But for post-decree issues, we can take those cases, and we also mediate financial issues related to divorce and parenting, which they don't mediate at Family Mediation Services. So parties can be referred to both agencies at the same time, if that's the kind of space they're in. And I'm highlighting those different types of programs because sometimes the legal issue that someone has come to your agency for, we're not a great fit for. They need you, they need a lawyer. However, it's very possible that your client is sitting in front of you and they're also telling you about like all the trouble they're having with their landlord that's making all of this so much worse, right? And so we can sometimes be a nice additional referral for someone who's getting maybe a completely different type of issue served by your agency. So I just like to remind that all the different types of cases we can do. There is the sheet that was in the handouts that's got our logo at the top that says mediation referrals. Really, cases are appropriate for mediation where the parties have attempted a resolution in the past, even if they weren't able to make it happen. So that a lot of eviction cases are great for that. And then also where the parties have either a past or future relationship. And then we have a beautiful list of examples, my favorite of which, of course, is parties in a love triangle. But there are a lot of different ways that people know each other and get into conflict. What sometimes starts as a stalking no contact case between two women who have children who have the same father ends up being a 3-hour conversation about the fact that these women have children that are siblings that have never met and what is it to be a mother, right? Which is like amazing, and they don't have time for it 5:55, So those parties in a love triangle can be very exciting. But really all the different ways that people know each other, parent-teacher associations, things like that. There's a lot of different places that we end up finding and building and feeding conflict where we can be a resource. I do want to highlight that in the past we've partnered with LAF with their help desk at Markham. So if you have a help desk or you're on site, we can be making referrals to legal aid and to help desks and to things like that for parties that are asking for it. We manage 2,000 calls a year where people do not want to do what we do, where we're sending them back out into the world. So please keep us updated on those types of resources. At the Daley Center in particular, we provide the services. We're in the courtrooms, and miraculously, we use a pager, which is it works, but it's very much from the past. I have to teach my new staff what a pager is every time I hire an intern. And they, so all the courtrooms that we serve have a piece of paper on the bulletin board with our logo that say there are mediators available for this courtroom, and upon request, the clerk will page us, and we will come to the courtroom. So it's the 11th floor, the 13th floor, and the 14th floor primarily, but we'll go anywhere we get a page. And that's from 9 to noon at the Daley Center in particular.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ray about CCR and mediation services? Okay, Ray recently came to, question? Yes. Marty?
Yeah. If both sides are represented, you will still...
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, both sides, one side, no sides.
Perfect.
We love attorneys and we don't need them. So we're great either way. Mm-hmm.
We had Ray come to meet with our staff at CBLS recently about CCR services, and I've always known that CCR existed, but I was stunned to find out the depth of their services and that you can refer someone there for almost any reason, even if they don't have a court case, as long as they have a dispute. So now I'm going to send them everything. And
she's making good on that promise.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to know more about CCR in depth, or if you have volunteers doing pro bono who want to know more, she's actually coming to CBLS. Anyone can come. It's on March 20th from 12:15 to 1:15. So you can send anybody to us.
And if I may, while I have a mic, I just want to give a really brief plug. If you do housing and eviction work, I would love to connect with you today. I'm working on building out our eviction work and programs, and if you're interested in having a voice in that, I would love to hear from you. Thanks.
And I think it was really helpful what you said about if there's some tangential issue, and I think that we are using that a lot. For example, like I'm a guardianship attorney, and often, I'm not going to send the parties to CCR to work out who's going to get guardianship of a kid, but often they're having disputes over visitation exclusively, like when it's going to happen and where are they going to meet and which McDonald's and all these things, and that's a side issue that I can easily send.
Yeah, we love that stuff.
I hate it.
We love it.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about mediation? Okay, so I'm going to take 2 minutes, in case you don't have enough information already, to talk about the Guardianship Assistance Desk for Minors, which is another court-based help desk. So some of you may know that the Guardianship Assistance Desk for Minors is another court-based resource for people who have guardianship cases. It is run by Cook County employees, so also not a desk per se, but an actual office with full-time employees They're located at 69 West Washington. This is on your handout. They're open pretty much regular business hours, and you can send anyone to the help desk regardless of their income for help with a guardianship proceeding. So anybody who needs to get guardianship of a kid, or if their child is already under guardianship and their mother or father looking to regain custody of their kids, they can go to the help desk. Or a parent who just wants to file for visitation, so maybe their kid is under guardianship and they haven't been able to see their kid regularly because either they don't know where they live or the guardian has been withholding the kid from them. They can go and file for visitation only, or successor guardianship, or a standby. Most guardianship issues, you can refer them to the help desk. They, again, are at 69 West Washington on the 10th floor. It's on your sheet. They take appointments and walk-ins, so the phone number is on that referral sheet. It's always best to call and make an appointment just so that they have that time reserved for you, but they do take walk-ins, so you can send people if they're already downtown that same day, especially if it's early in the day. And they are supervised by CBLS, so they're not CBLS staff or volunteers, they're Cook County employees, but they're under the supervision of CBLS because they're not attorneys. So if they have any issues, they call me, usually on my cell phone, all day long, with questions to ask me. And then if the case is too complicated for the help desk or something that's not appropriate for the help desk, they get referred to CBLS. And so often for direct representation. So if they have something that's like, has an immigration issue or a DCFS issue or something that complicates it, they come to us and we can often represent them if appropriate. So feel free to refer them to the help desk or to CBLS either way with guardianship issues. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Well, just a quick little plug. I'm part of the National Elder Justice Center, and we have a help desk at the Immigration Court. So just an additional resource for everyone. But I also had a question for you all in terms of how do you manage like your ethical obligations when you're doing like short-term advice and assuring clients that you're not representing them on their case?
That's a great question. So about conflicts of interest or ethical obligations for short-term or limited scope representation. Does anybody want to address that?
I could talk just to what we do at Carpels. So one of the things, we always do a conflict check for all of our clients. And we always explain to the clients straight away up front, I am an attorney, I'm going to be giving you advice only, I'm not representing you, I'm not taking your case on. And we have, at all of our help desks, we have them sign a written disclaimer, which is spelling out, hey, we are just giving you advice today only, you're continuing on pro se, we're not taking your case on, so that people understand the limits of that relationship. And then I guess sort of the broader question too is, I'm always, in terms of the kind of work and advice we do, we never want to put somebody sort of in a worse position, and so sometimes that limits what we're going to do. So for instance, we're never going to draft a really complicated, crazy motion or pleading or petition that's going to put them beyond where we think is going to be in their best interest and where we're going to be able to continue helping them. And so we're always going to look for what is going to be the appropriate assistance that we can provide in a pro se situation where we're not going to be stepping up in court and representing them all along the way, but we're just going to be helping them at that moment in time. What's the best appropriate service for them? So other.
I think Angela has a
question. Sure, I have a question. You talk about minor guardianship. Are there any resources for people on the other side of the age spectrum at the Daley Center?
For adult, is there an adult guardianship help desk? I should know the answer to this.
Yes.
And also, are there help for like
yes,
would be elderly?
Yes, there is.
She's setting you up.
I know.
It's a setup.
An elder law
Get the magic sheet.
At the resource center in
To the rest
at the Daley Center.
Yes.
Courtney, do you
Yeah,
wanna
so
talk
if you
about
look
that?
at this lovely blue sheet that we've referenced many times today, there's a guardianship section, so we've already spoken about the minor guardianship assistance desk. There is an adult guardianship desk as well. It's on the 12th floor in the clerk's office, room 1202, Monday through Friday, 9 to 1. Once again, first come, first served, so we recommend that you send folks there early if they're going to go there. There are also services for the elderly population. So in CL 16, we have the Elder Justice Center, and they have recently started a new partnership with the Legal Aid Society, and so now they can also see They have walk-ins as well as appointments, so their hours are Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 9 to 1 as well as Thursdays 9 to 3. So you could always have clients call in advance to schedule an appointment to come in, or if they happen to be in the vicinity, they could stop by. They're helping with pretty much every area of civil law right now. Melanie, do you want to jump in and say anything else about it?
Yes, they are. We have certain issues depending, there are all these other great help desk resources, so there are certain things like, for example, foreclosure that we immediately refer to the foreclosure desk because they usually have availability, and if they do have availability, they're going to do a far better job than any of us would. But there are areas where we overlap, like domestic relations, where our attorneys have expertise and will handle domestic relations cases, which is particularly great because that's a desk that gets full very early. So we are covering most areas of law. We are most likely going to be expanding our hours in March. Courtney will be the first person to know when that officially happens. So as she said, please check the website to make sure the hours will be updated the minute that they change. But we most likely are going to be expanding to 4 days a week. And we almost always have appointment slots, and we almost always have capacity to see walk-ins. So it is one of the places, at least right now, that you are almost guaranteed to see somebody, which is great.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Anyone else? Okay, Angela has a quick legislative update, and then we'll take any announcements.
Well, first I'd like to thank our panelists very much, and Rebecca for moderating. I thought you guys had so much information I learned about. I work at the CBF, and I still learned like so much today, so I'm really excited. And I'm going to be probably personally seeking raise So quick legislative update. We've talked about 2 bills that we're going to be working on this year, 2 initiatives that are plain language initiatives, civil asset forfeiture plain language bill, and a prayer for relief civil procedure plain language bill. Both will be filed by tomorrow because that's the deadline, and will be being co-sponsored by Senator Laura Fine and Senator L.D. Sims, which we're excited about. We worked with them both before on plain language initiatives, so they're very familiar with the concepts, and they were excited to work with us. So stay tuned for bill numbers on that. And also, as well, I have a microphone, 2 quick announcements. Most of you are on the Legal Aid Academy newsletter because you're a legal aid attorney that gets CBA's Australia Advantage and all that. There will be a new newsletter coming out with some really great training opportunities, and including some customized trainings that we're working on. So stay tuned for that. That should be in your inboxes in the next week or so. And other trainings, our March meeting is canceled, so do not come here on the second Thursday of March. There will be nobody here. It's in lieu of our annual seminar for the CBA membership that we do on a topic that's sort of related to legal aid, but also the rest of the membership would be potentially interested in. And this year we're putting on a youth-centered simulation so that you can kind of walk through what a young person would be dealing with if they were dealing with either experiencing homelessness, the juvenile justice system, and or the DCFS foster care system. So it's kind of a neat take on if you've done a poverty simulation. It's very youth focused, and I participated on both sides of facilitating and otherwise. I think it's a really cool one. So please invite everyone to that. Anyone is welcome to join for that, and the description of that is on the back of your agenda today. So I will be sending that out via email, but you also have it today. I know that there's a couple announcements. One I'd like to start with is Lisa, if you want to come up and talk a little bit about a new program with Lawyers Trust Fund and the Institute for the Future of Law Practice.
Thanks, Angela. Excuse me. So I'm Lisa Colpoys. I know many of you from my time at Illinois Legal Aid Online. But I'm here today to talk to you about a new organization called the Institute for the Future of Law Practice, which I'm now affiliated with. There was a flyer out on the table. Hopefully you've got it. If you don't, pick one up on the way out, or I've got some more. So really what I want to talk to you about really quickly is what is the Institute for the Future of Law Practice, which I'll abbreviate as IFLIP because, well, the name's long and we all like acronyms. Why should you care, and what can we do for you? So first, what is iFlip? It's a new nonprofit that was founded about a year ago. The problem we're trying to solve is to provide modern training in disciplines that attorneys need to know in order to be successful in a 21st century law practice, whether that is private practice, public sector practice, or whatever you're doing. So really, we're trying to train better lawyers. We were founded by some law professors who realized that in the traditional law school curriculum, students were not being prepared for practice, and they were leaving law school not having some basic skills that they needed in order to succeed. So we've started out focusing on a law school and law student community, but we are expanding now to mid-career legal professionals because, well, there's lots of lawyers out there who could use additional skills. The types of skills we're talking about are not deep, substantive legal skills, but they are skills that relate to other disciplines that lawyers need to have a foundational knowledge of, like business operations, project management, process improvement, technology, data analytics. Things that you're going to encounter in your practice more and more, especially as technology becomes more pervasive in our lives. So that is what we call a T-shaped lawyer. And you'll notice on the flyer there's a T. The vertical part of the T is your deep legal knowledge. That's kind of your traditional curriculum and CLE that you gain from your learning and your practice. The horizontal part of the T are the disciplines that we're trying to introduce to law students and lawyers, the things that you need to know to be successful today. So why should you care about this? Well, we want you all to be successful in your practices, and we really think that public service lawyers need to know these skills just as much as, maybe more than their private practice counterparts, because you have less resources and less time and less of everything. So the Lawyers Trust Fund has partnered with iFlip, and I'm excited to announce today this partnership. They are offering to pay the tuition for several seats at an intensive boot camp that we're hosting in May. It's a 3-week boot camp. There will be a mix of law students and mid-career legal professionals participating in this boot camp. The topics that will be addressed are the topics that I just discussed. It is a limited enrollment, maximum of 32 people in the class. About 20% of those seats are reserved for mid-career legal professionals. There is more on the flyer, delving into the details of the curriculum, but basically it's about business practices, technology, data analytics, process improvement, and how to apply those to a public service setting. In order to be eligible for the training, your organization needs to be a grantee of the Lawyers Trust Fund. So all Lawyers Trust Fund general operating grantees are eligible to apply. It's an organizational application, and organizations will then nominate lawyers within their program to attend the boot camp. So ideally, we would like a lawyer to attend the entire 3-week boot camp. We get it's hard to take 3 weeks out of your practice, so programs can in fact split that up amongst a couple people, and so one lawyer might attend a couple modules and another lawyer might attend another couple modules. But the application is done by the organization. The application process opens on Monday. It will go through March 15th. By April 1st, we will let people know who has been accepted, and by April 15th, you'll need to confirm your participation. So I think this is a really great opportunity for people to get some free training, because the Lawyers Trust Fund is footing the bill for the tuition. Free training in things that will hopefully spark your practice to be more successful. And as the nominee from your organization who is attending, hopefully you'll be able to go back to your organization and share your learnings and help your organization become more efficient and more of a 21st century operating organization. So I'm going to stop. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Marty?
How are you defining mid-career? Like,
Anyone.
okay.
You could be in practice for a year. You could be brand new. You could be in practice for 25 years. You're never too old or young to learn something new. Rebecca?
That was my question too, and then the other one was, are those 32 people going to be the entire class, or is these 32 people plus a whole bunch of other people who are paying to go to this?
Those 32 people are the entire class. Some of them are law students, some are mid-career professionals. 6 of them, up to 6 of them, will be Illinois legal aid lawyers.
My question is going to be if we could if paralegals at the organization could attend.
Up to your organization who they want to send. Sure, paralegals are welcome as well. Other types of legal professionals as well. Anyone else?
And on the website or the link, is there like a kind of sample curriculum of what?
The curriculum is here.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
on the flyer.
Okay.
I'll put this on our website too. It's not on our website, but I'll put it there. If anyone has any questions, take this back to your organizations. Share it with your leader. Hopefully someone in your organization will be excited and interested in attending. If anyone has questions, feel free to contact me. My contact information is on the flyer. I'm happy to talk to anyone via phone, email, and answer your questions. Thanks for your time today. I hope that some of you will get involved.
Thanks, Lisa. Any other announcements?
Should I go there or do it?
You're fine.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Jenny Terrell. I'm at the Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. I work on our voting rights project, and a big piece of the work that we do is on election day, making sure that all eligible voters do get to vote. So we are looking for volunteer attorneys for February 26th to help out as poll watchers, making sure people aren't intimidated away from voting or anything else like that. There's some flyers out front, but if you would be up for spreading the word or want more information, please find me and I can send you a Facebook event and other information. Thanks. Marty?
It is, my name's Marty. I'm with CBLS, but also First 10, just for public interest attorneys in the city who are in the first 10 years of practice, kind of like a community/mailing list. It is potluck season. We have 3 potlucks that various members are going to be hosting in March, on March 1st, 8th, 22nd. So if you aren't on the mailing list and you are interested in joining and finding out more, see me. If you are on the mailing list, you probably have those dates in your inbox already. No one has indicated interest in my date yet, so I'm also trying to get someone to show up and eat with my coworker and I.
Marty, I didn't hear what you said. It's what season?